The morning sun glinted off Lake Serenity like scattered diamonds, and I stood at the edge of what was supposed to be my fresh start. 3 years of undercover work in the city had worn me down to my bones, and this lakeside property, completely outside any HOA jurisdiction, was my reward to myself. A place where nobody could tell me what color to paint my mailbox or how tall my grass could grow. I was unloading boxes from my truck when I heard the crunch of gravel behind me. "Excuse me? Excuse me?" The voice was sharp enough to cut glass. I turned to find a woman marching toward me like she owned the entire lakeshore. She was probably in her mid-50s, with blonde hair styled into that specific Karen cut that seemed to defy the laws of physics. She wore a crisp white polo shirt with Serenity Shores HOA president embroidered across the chest, and she clutched a tablet like it was a holy scripture. "Can I help you?" I asked, setting down the box I'd been carrying. "I'm Patricia Whitmore, president of the Serenity Shores Homeowners Association." She thrust her hand toward me, not for a handshake, but holding out the tablet. "I'm here to welcome you to the community and go over the HOA regulations. You'll need to sign the covenant agreement today before you bring anything else inside." I glanced at the tablet, then back at her face, which was already pinched with impatience. "I appreciate the visit, but I'm not part of any HOA. I made sure of that before I bought this place." Her expression shifted from impatience to confusion, then rapidly to indignation. "That's impossible. Every property within a half-mile of Lake Serenity falls under our jurisdiction." "Not this one." I gestured to the land around us. "I bought this property specifically because it's outside the HOA boundaries. It's been privately owned since the 1950s, and the previous owner never joined your association." Patricia's face began to flush red. You can't just... We have rules here." "Standards. You can't just exist outside the HOA when you're living on the lake." "Actually, I can," I said, keeping my voice level. "And I do." She stabbed at her tablet screen with perfectly manicured nails. "This is highly irregular. Our covenants clearly state that all lakefront properties—" "Your covenants apply to properties that signed them," I interrupted. "Mine never did. If you check with your HOA lawyer, they'll confirm it." Patricia's nostrils flared. "I know every property on this lake, young man. I've been president of this association for 12 years, and I'm telling you that you're part of this HOA whether you like it or not." "I'm really not interested in debating this," I said, turning back to my truck. "I've had a long week, and I'd like to get settled in. Don't you turn your back on me." Patricia's voice rose to a near shriek. "I'm trying to help you understand how things work here. We have standards. We have order. You can't just do whatever you want." I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I was off duty and that patience was a virtue. "Ma'am, I understand you're used to managing your HOA, but this property isn't part of it. I'm asking you politely to leave my land." "Your land?" She let out a harsh laugh. "This entire area is part of Serenity Shores. You think you can just buy a property and ignore the community? What are you going to do next? Paint your house neon pink? Leave your trash cans out 24/7? Park some rusted-out car on blocks in your driveway?" "I'm going to live my life," I said firmly. "On my property, which again is not part of your HOA." Patricia's eyes narrowed to slits. "We'll see about that. I'm calling the sheriff's department right now. You're trespassing on HOA property and you're refusing to comply with community regulations. That's a criminal matter." I couldn't help the small smile that crossed my face. "You want to call the police because I won't join your HOA?" "I'm calling them because you're breaking the law." She already had her phone out, dialing with theatrical flourish. "Yes, hello? I need to report a trespasser at 1247, Lakeshore Drive. He's refusing to comply with legal HOA requirements, and he's being aggressive and threatening." I raised my eyebrows at the aggressive and threatening part, but said nothing. This was far from the first time someone had embellished a story to 911, and it wouldn't be the last. Patricia kept talking into the phone, pacing back and forth on my property while describing me as if I were some kind of dangerous squatter. "He's a large male, probably in his 30s, very confrontational. He claims he owns the property, but he's clearly trying to avoid legal HOA obligations. Yes, I'll wait right here. Thank you." She ended the call and crossed her arms, her face radiating smug satisfaction. "The sheriff's department is sending someone right now. We'll see what they have to say about your little property rights theory. Looking forward to it, I said mildly, and went back to unloading my truck. This only seemed to infuriate Patricia more. She followed me back and forth, continuing her lecture about community standards, property values, and the importance of uniformity. I tuned most of it out, focusing on getting my boxes inside. 15 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up my driveway. Patricia immediately rushed toward it, her expression triumphant. "Thank God you're here, officer. This man is—" She stopped mid-sentence as the deputy stepped out of the car. It was Jake Morrison, one of the guys from my unit. We'd worked together on a major drug trafficking case just 2 months ago. "Hey, Marcus!" Jake called out with a grin, then seemed to register the situation. His expression shifted to professional neutrality as he approached. "Got a call about a disturbance?" Patricia's confidence wavered for just a moment before she rallied. "Yes! This man claims he owns this property, but he's refusing to sign the HOA covenant agreement. All properties on this lake are part of Serenity Shores HOA, and he's in violation—" "Ma'am," Jake interrupted gently. "Let me just get some information first." He turned to me. "Sir, do you own this property?" I reached into my back pocket and pulled out my wallet, flipping it open to show my detective's badge alongside my driver's license with the property address. Marcus Chen, County Detective. Just transferred back from the city division. "And yes, I own this property, bought it 3 weeks ago." Jake's professional mask cracked into a genuine smile. "Well, congratulations on the new place, Detective Chen." He made a show of examining my documents, then turned to Patricia. "Ma'am, can I see your documentation that this property is part of your HOA?" Patricia's face had gone pale the moment she saw my badge, but she fumbled with her tablet anyway. "It's all the properties on the lake. We have a map." Jake took the tablet and studied it for a moment. "Ma'am, according to this map, the property line for your HOA jurisdiction ends about 50 feet east of here. This property appears to be outside your boundaries, but that can't be right." Patricia's voice had lost its authoritative edge, now tinged with desperation. "It's always been— we've always assumed—" "You assumed wrong," I said quietly. Jake handed the tablet back to Patricia. "Ma'am, this gentleman owns this property, and it's not part of your HOA. He has every right to be here, and he has no legal obligation to sign your covenant. But the community standards don't apply to him," Jake said firmly. "Now, is there anything else I can help you with today?" Patricia looked between us, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The righteous fury had drained from her face, replaced by embarrassment and something that looked like fear. She turned to me, and I could see her recalculating everything about the last 30 minutes. "I didn't know you were a detective." "Shouldn't matter what I do for a living," I said. "The property law is the same either way." She clutched her tablet to her chest. "I was just trying to maintain community standards. We've worked very hard to keep this area beautiful and—" "Ma'am," Jake said, his tone still professional but with an edge of warning, "you called 911 and reported false information about a trespasser and aggressive behavior. That's a serious matter. I'm going to let it go this time, but I strongly suggest you verify your facts before making emergency calls in the future." Patricia's face flushed deep red. Yes, of course. I'm sorry. I thought—" She looked at me again, and I could practically see the lawsuits and consequences spinning through her mind. "I apologize for the misunderstanding." "Welcome to the neighborhood." She turned and walked quickly back to her car, a white Lexus SUV parked halfway down my driveway, and drove away without looking back. Jake watched her go, then turned to me with a chuckle. "Man, you've been back in town for what, 5 hours? And you're already making friends." I laughed, feeling the tension drain from my shoulders. "What can I say? I have a gift. Seriously, though, you might want to put up a property line marker or something. Make it crystal clear where her jurisdiction ends." He glanced at the lake, then back at me. "Nice place you got here, Chen. Way better than that shoebox apartment you had downtown." "That's the plan," I said. "Someplace quiet." "Someplace where people leave me alone," Jake grinned. "Good luck with that. You know how these lake communities are. Everyone knows everyone's business." He headed back to his cruiser, then paused. "Hey, we're having a cookout next weekend." You should come by, meet some of the guys from the local department. I'll think about it, I said. As Jake drove away, I stood in my driveway, looking at the boxes still left to unload and the lake shimmering in the distance. Somewhere across the water, Patricia was probably on the phone with her HOA board, trying to explain how she'd threatened a county detective with arrest for refusing to join her association. I smiled to myself. Maybe quiet and peaceful would take a little while longer to achieve, but this was still my property, my rules, and my fresh start. And nobody, not even a Karen with a clipboard and a God complex, was going to take that away from me. I grabbed another box and headed inside. Home sweet home.